on, so don't.
Yeah, we're really laid back.
So. Hi, everybody. Welcome in. We have a good night for you guys tonight. I'm Anjanette from AjsPersonalTouch, and you know
me, Kaylin from KaysCrochetHaven.
And then we have our guest tonight. We have Corrina. I forgot to ask you, is it Corrina or?
It's Corrina. Like the song, Corrina.
Okay. We have Corrina from Just Vintage Crochet with us tonight. We are so excited. As you know, we've been doing our journey into looking back at crochet and the history of crochet. We started with the plain history, and then last time we did the crochet hooks, and we wanted to do terms tonight. And when we went looking, we could not find a whole lot. And Kaylin has been watching Corrina for a while on her channel, and she's like, oh, she might be able to help us. So she emailed her, and she was so gracious to say that she would come on with us.
I was excited. More than gracious, I was excited. I was looking forward to this. And I did watch your episode where you went looking at the hooks. And some of those hooks you guys looked at, I actually have. Those Evelyn 1911 hooks.
Uh-huh.
Uh-oh.
Awesome.
Well, hold on one second. There you go.
Before we start going into all of that, though, we're going to wait a couple minutes. I was just going to say to let people come on, and then we'll start. And you can show those because they're going to love seeing those because everybody has been.
Oh, sure. No problem.
So.
But that's cool that you actually have the hooks.
I'm excited to see those. Yes, I've been watching you talk about all the hooks. I can't wait to see what the Tunisian hook looks like when you get it in.
Me too. It's still not here. It's in my city now. It got to my local post office this morning, so I should get it tomorrow, hopefully.
Awesome.
But yeah, it took me. I must have went down 3 or 4 different websites, and I got almost a full set of those Evelyn hooks. So
awesome.
I have to show you those.
Awesome.
Okay, awesome. Everybody, as you come in, remember what we always do. Tell us what's on your hook and what's in your cup. I have nothing on my hook tonight because I'm so excited just about what we're discussing. But I have my tangerine orange tea that I found that is so good, hot and cold, with a little bit of vanilla and some almond milk. So that's what I'm drinking tonight. And hi, Kathy. Welcome in. And Ambi. Ambi asked, what's on your cup and on your hook before? She's always ahead of us.
Mm-hmm.
Ambi used to do these talks with us before she didn't have time to do them anymore. So she's still part of asking the questions sometimes.
Oh, wonderful.
So... Oh, and they're both moderators with their wrenches. We'll see. We had so many people show up last night. Hopefully we get a few more tonight.
Oh, sure. I did share the link on my community post.
Awesome. Yeah, I frantically asked Kaylin earlier. I'm like, oh my goodness, I sent you links a little bit later than I normally do. I'm like, please tell me that you got them sent to her. And she was like, yeah, I did. I'm like, thank you.
Yes.
Kathy says drinking flavored water and working on a blanket square. Awesome. So did you start a new blanket, Kathy? Ampy is drinking sweet tea and crocheting on my Afghan. Kathy, just a little information for you. She's like my twin. So I have a group on Facebook. And I just put it out there when I first started my channel. And I was like, anybody who wants to come and crochet with me, we will do virtual chat. And there's a core of us who met each other.
Oh, that is so fun.
And Ambi and 2 other ladies who I don't know if either of them will be here tonight, who've been like a core. And
that's a wonderful idea. I love that.
Oh, I wasn't thinking about that, Kathy. We're both making a holiday blanket. Of course, it's that one. It's made out of squares of filet crochet squares. Awesome. So which square are you working on? I haven't started my next one. I'm either doing the snowman or I'm going to do the snowflake since it's like the hardest one. Ambi says, and eating chips ahoy cookies. I know they are so bad. Well, if that's what you want tonight, are you coming up here with me, baby? Come on.
Well, I have
Talking so you guys
another sock going on my hook, and then I also have sweet tea in my cup.
Currently on my hook is a blanket that my brother requested.
Ooh, that's beautiful.
Yes.
He wanted a chevron, kind of a dusky 70s sort of colorway, and so that's what I am working on. And this pattern is available on the Just Vintage channel too.
I was going to say, I think it looks familiar.
Yes, it's from the late 70s, I think.
Okay.
That's one of the things I wanted to discuss with you before we came on here, but I didn't. When you think of vintage, I know you go way back. What do you think of as vintage? Because I'm 54, so books that I have are considered vintage just because I was crocheting in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's just too wild to me. I don't consider that vintage.
Technically, anything that's over 20 years old is vintage, but I won't touch the 90s. That's too new. A lot of those pattern writers still are alive. They have every right to their work. I try to stay early 80s all the way back as far as patterns go into their existence. So we're talking 1980, maybe 82, 83, but I even try to stay out of the 80s as much as possible because even that feels a little bit too new for me.
Mm-hmm.
Not because I refuse to consider it vintage, but because a lot of those people, they exist alongside their pattern still,
right?
Because like I'm stealing from them.
And I guess maybe that's why I feel it's not that I refuse to think of it as vintage. I mean, I'm from that time, though I don't like thinking of myself as vintage, but just because it is weird because a lot of them are still here and,
I get it. I mean, the first time I started hearing some songs I grew up with on the oldies station, I knew.
Yeah.
I was officially in that club.
Yes. Which actually, I just picked up my blanket in case if I do plan on. I'm creating my own.
I love that.
Thank you. I'm just my first true design, so which we still have to get together, Kaylin, so I can teach you how to do it.
Yes.
Ambi says, my dad wants a chevron blanket but hasn't picked his colors yet. Kathy said, pretty blanket. And hopefully she'll finish. She's still on her ornament square. That's the last one that I did. She's ahead of me. She has like 1 or 2 squares left, and I have like 10.
Mm-hmm. Thrifty crocheter.
Oh, I know. I wanted to show you though. We are doing a cal on in my group, and the designer is a new designer, but the design is a vintage design. So she was inspired by a vintage design. And I thought, since tonight's on terms, we can still go over this stuff while it's.
I see a lot of stuff on YouTube that is vintage inspired.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see anyone saying that it's vintage inspired. Not anyone, but I don't see a lot of people calling what they're making vintage inspired. But I recognize almost every single one of those patterns from an old vintage book.
Welcome in, Jonesy. It's nice to meet you. Good morning from Perth, Western Australia. That is awesome. Thrifty Crocheter, welcome into you.
Hi.
As well. Hello. Just Corrina, I love your channel.
Now that isn't me trying to call anyone out. I just think that people do get inspired by those.
Yes. Yeah. Well, the reason I know is because this person has a blog. And so a lot of people with blogs, they'll talk about, what inspired them to do their designs. And she had said that she had seen something like this in a vintage book and it inspired her. But this
isn't that beautiful?
Is the shawl we're all working on.
Oh, I just love that.
So I just thought you might like to see that since
that's
Kaylin and Kathy and I are all working.
What kind of yarn are you using?
I'm using it's meant for DK weight, but I had a worsted weight. It's Mary Maxim Glimmer.
Oh, I like Mary Maxim yarns.
I got it out of one of her, oh my goodness, Kathy, I may have to ask for your help.
Subscription box?
No, sorry, my brain does this. That's why I say I understand when you say that you can't.
Yes, I call it, for me, because of the Hashimoto's, I call it Hashimoto's brain.
I just call it whatever. I can't think. The other thing you call it, but I can't think of that right now either.
Brain fog.
Kathy says brain fog. Yes. Kathy says, I love all our shawls. Jonesy was, I just finished a baby blanket
cool.
inspired by vintage granny squares with a farmy lace edge. So happy with the outcome. A for-me lace edge. Okay. So happy with that. That sounds gorgeous. Mystery bag. Yes. These were in a mystery bag. And I
okay. Yeah.
tell it's just happened, but I wore today. I wore this color a lot. And I thought, oh,
I love earth tones too.
Everybody else is making it a different, cake yarn with the different colors. And I'm like, I know, a little boring doing the,
I really love that it looks like it's cutouts. Like that is so pretty.
You should see some of the others. Oh, I can't wait until we're all done. Kathy's done with hers. I know Kaylin's about done with hers. I have a couple more repeats to do and I'll be done. And a different lady who's in there with this, she's done with hers. And once that's done, I'll put up the final video to show everybody what they all look like.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So, Thrifty Crochet says, oh, so I said that already. Oh, Corrina, I have one of the vintage books that you've made projects from.
That's awesome.
Jonesy says double lace edge. Sorry, typo. I do it all the time. And Kathy was telling me mystery bag. Thank you again. Ambi says, I think of 80s and 90s and even 70s as retro and older is vintage. Yeah, that's what I always did.
Yeah.
I had to look up the definition for vintage because my husband was like, no, the 80s is, and I was like, no. And he's like, yeah.
Yeah, technically anything over 20 years old is vintage. Anything 99 years old or older is antique. And then I think the way I looked it up, anything 17,000 years old or 15,000 years old and older is ancient or something along those lines.
Yeah, I looked all that up too. And I pulled out some of my books, but not all of them. And most of mine fell into the 90s, but I had a couple, I think I had two that were in the 80s, wasn't it, Kaylin?
Yeah.
So we had, as part of the series, we thought of something else we hadn't thought of before to add on to it. So that's why I didn't bring them tonight, because I'll be showing them later. So we have at least, I think, 2 more parts to this series that we're doing. So,
what else are you going to cover?
Well, we haven't really come out and told everybody yet. We
okay. Sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. You don't know that. So it's kind of when we put the intro video up for it or whatever, when I do the thumbnail, you can kind of get an idea from there what it's going to be. We don't just come out and say, what it is.
Okay.
That's why if you look close to it, you could see little terms on this one.
I did see the thumbnail on this one, yes, and I saw where it said plain and Mrs. Stitch, and I'm like, oh, okay, they're hitting it.
Yeah. So, yeah. That's just my little quirky way to try and intro things. And I don't know, when we reinvented ourselves this year, we were like, we just love to go and research things.
Mm-hmm.
So we just thought we'd start with crochet. And
I'm currently doing that right now. I am currently researching the history of Tunisian crochet because I'd really like to get into that. I am very lucky at this point in history. There is a lot of information out there on Tunisian crochet, but I want to learn it from the French perspective, the German perspective, from all the different perspectives of where it was found at in history, and really get into it and why it's called tricot sometimes in history, why it's called Tunisian sometimes in history, or Afghan sometimes. I want to understand why it changed.
Right.
Afghan is a little bit different. So, because I think Afghan is the one that uses the double-ended hook. And so when you do it, it comes out that it's reversible as you crochet it.
I'm not exactly sure. I am currently doing research on that, so we'll see if the research matches, and you might have the
It's at
nail
least
on the head.
Yeah, it's at least a part of it. But I can't remember too if Afghan is the one that you tie the string on the end of the long hook, because there's that one too.
I'm not really sure.
I have all these different hooks that I've gotten through, and some of them may actually be vintage. I don't know, that I've gotten through the years trying to get a hook, because I wanted to do Afghan crochet so bad that I got the double hooks. And then I'm like, okay, they don't have patterns for it anymore. So I've got to go back and find patterns, which I do have a link, and I forgot to put it in the description for, and that may be for something coming up now since we decided to do this, for patterns to find. I think it says antiquepatterns.com or something like that.
That's a good place.
So here's Sanja also is making the shawl with us. She's, hi everyone.
Hello.
Jonesy says it's good to know I'm not antique yet. Good to know I'm not too. So, okay. Well, you got for those now, since we have some people in and who have been here from last time, Corrina actually has some vintage hooks that we showed in the last one. So she wanted to show you guys because she watched that video. And she was starting to show early, and I had to stop her excitement for a minute. So
yeah,
I just hooked my couch. There we go. Hold up.
I just didn't want you to show it, and I'd have to tell everybody to come on and rewatch later because they missed something great.
So this is my collection of non-bone, with the exception of this handle, non-bone antique hooks, and then I have my collection of bone antique hooks. But you featured these hooks on a website, the Evelyn hooks from 1911. They are actually quite wonderful hooks. They're fantastic. All of them I purchased. I had to purchase from England. I purchased the majority of this set I purchased on Etsy, and then one on Poshmark and one on eBay. It took me a lot to find them. They're not easy to find. There's not a lot of them out there, but that is what I have, all the Evelyn hooks from 1911, almost a complete set of the tiniest of the tinies.
That is so cool.
And unfortunately, you can't really see the name, but that's them. And I think these are handmade, with the exception of that one. I don't know if that one is handmade, but I think these are handmade steel hooks. Here's another one here. Isn't that neat? That little wooden one there. These are all going to be from the late 1800s, very early 1900s.
Wow.
And then my full collection of bone hooks. This one's neat. It's a knitting needle on one end and a bone hook on the other. Unfortunately, the video quality is so low, you can't see any of the grain on these hooks. This one here is missing its handle, unfortunately, a handle like this. But you can't really see the bone grains and all of that, unfortunately. But I do have some videos on my channel where we get real close and personal with all of these hooks, including the Evelyn hooks.
I was just going to tell everybody, if you want to see them, I do have her channel listed below in the details. Plus, you'll see it coming up. Nightbot will be showing it. And go check her out because she shows these hooks up close, and they are beautiful. Just beautiful.
They're a lot of fun. And then, of course, I love anything that somebody made. I have no idea how old this hook is, but it is 100% handmade. It's hand carved. If unfortunately, again, you won't be able to see very well, but you can see all the.
It's a gorgeous large hook.
It's beautiful hook, and it's one of the biggest hooks I have. I think it's a 16 millimeter. I love it.
That's so cool.
And she loves Susan Bates. I love Susan.
I do. I have just about every kind of Susan Bates that they ever had, including the Quicksilver in the small, and then the Quicksilver Tunisian.
I have like maybe one or two Quicksilvers, and then I have almost a whole set of the steel hooks.
Oh, yeah, I've got the steel hooks. I've got a full set. Of course, I had to find these all over the place too. I now have a complete full set of these Susan Bates steel hooks that have the inline. Because the newer steel hook ones from Susan Bates, they are tapered head, like boy. These are the ones that
Okay,
are.
I think I have the inline.
Yeah, those
But
are.
I'll
In
have to
my
go look at
opinion,
them because I do not like tapered heads. I
I
have a
don't
hard
either.
time.
I do. I
But I
do.
know, as Kaylin and I have talked about it, I think it's just whatever you learned how to crochet on.
Exactly.
I've
Annie,
used the Susan Bates. I mean, but it's
Okay, Kaylin,
Well,
she
if
may have
you
to come back on her phone in a minute. So she disappears. That's what she's doing.
yes,
Abby is
I do.
asking, do you use any of
Answering
these beautiful hooks? And I think
yeah.
yes. Yes, I try to. Sometimes I have no luck with some of them, as you will see in some videos where I start the video off. It's a 1880s pattern, and I want to use a hook from that era, so I will grab one of my bone hooks, but it just doesn't work out. It either snags too much. Typically, it snags too much, and I refuse to take a nail file to a 150-plus-year-old bone hook just so I can use it in a video. That feels sacrosanct.
I completely understand.
That
But
feels like
yes,
destroying history for content. That feels dirty.
if you go and watch her channel, you'll see she wants it to be completely vintage. If she can do it from the hook and the yarn as close as she can,
Yes.
and the pattern, she tries to do it as vintage as
I
she
do.
can. Sandra says, yes, Susan Bates. I love the ones with the rubber handles for daily use, and I have some of the metal. I have those too. And as you guys saw, I have the interchangeable set that I used last night. Lyra's Stitchery, welcome, come on in. She says, hey, so exciting seeing Corrina live. She is the one who inspired me to actually start crochet instead of just watching others.
Oh, wonderful.
And welcome in Lillian Robinson. She said, I got a set of Evelyn hooks from my great grandma. Wow.
That's amazing. Hold on to them because I'm telling you, Lily, they are hard to find online. So hold on to them and hold on to those Quicksilver hooks. You said you had some Quicksilvers. Hold on to those for dear life too, because I can't find them anywhere online anymore.
My grandpa, and we can't find them, and I'm going crazy, and I'm hoping that I find them. From World War II, he brought back a vintage set of knitting needles, and they're lace knitting needles. They're teeny, teeny, tiny.
Oh, wow.
And I will be so upset if I completely lost them, but they've got to be in a box around here somewhere. I have a treasure box, and we haven't been able to find it, and it's in there.
That's heartbreaking. Yeah.
Went overseas, and all of my stuff from going over there is in there. So
are they metal?
Yes, they're metal. They're teeny tiny. And my aunt knew I wanted to learn how to knit. She tried to teach me how to knit on them. Yeah, it did not work. But
yeah, I can't. I've tried. I have tried. I can do the stitch that's not most popularly used. I don't know what it's called. The knit stitch, I guess, or the purl stitch. I don't know.
The purl stitch is the one everybody says they have a hard time on, but I can do it easier than the knit stitch. So
I don't
everything
remember.
is based off of knit or purl. So
the one that looks like uncooked ramen noodles, that's the one I can do.
Well, both of them can look that way when all you do is that stitch. So
yeah, okay. I'm not very good at that. The inconsistency, fat stitches, tight stitches. I have a hand for crocheting. I have so much sense memory for crocheting. My brain made no more room for anything else.
Yeah, well, it took me till 54 to learn how to knit. So if that tells you anything. Hello, Lyra's Stitchery. Welcome in. Candace Outlaw says, I love this. Corrina is incredible. I watch all her videos. All you ladies are so talented. So that's sweet. Awesome. Everybody's saying hi. And Ampy says, I love the way you said that. Yeah, I learned how to cast on. So when I at least started, I was pretty good at casting on because that was about the only thing.
I can cast on where you like go between like the 3 fingers and do that whole thing. I can do that all day long. That if that's all knitting was, I'm a shoo-in.
Unfortunately, so I mean, I learned how to knit stitch really well, and I made a whole washcloth with it. Then I started learning to purl stitch, which like I said, I love more. So I decided to go back and forth, and I'm like, oh, I already forgot how to do the knit stitch. So I had to go watch the video again.
Oh, hello, Jennifer.
Abby says, I see it in my head perfectly. Jennifer Monroe, hello. She says, hi, Corrina. I am a huge fan.
Hello.
Lyra Stitchery says, I tried knitting first, but it took me 3 days to learn how to cast on. I think my hands don't like to talk to each other. I think a lot of it for crocheters is you have to learn how to hold the yarn before you can even.
Yes.
Or actually hold something else that helps you make something with your other hand as well as the yarn.
Yeah.
That's my problem.
I still hold the yarn with the same yarn hand I use for crochet.
Yeah, I try to hold it on this side, but I guess you're supposed to hold it on this side, or one of them is international, one of them is continental, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I watched, to learn that, I watched I'm not going to think of her name. But then I went and watched It's Raining Yarn, who is a friend of mine. His name is Russell. And
I love that
that
name.
helped me so much better than Marley Bird. I started with Marley Bird.
Marley Bird. She's an excellent teacher.
Because she has a class all for the person who crocheted first.
Okay.
So Jennifer says my left hand is really dumb. Yeah,
my hands become feet
too.
whenever I'm trying to knit. It's just, and I have invested so much into knitting in my cabinet. I have so many wonderful knitting needles. I've even bought knitting needles from the thrift shop. I even bought the really gigantic ones thinking, well, maybe I'll just do this and learn that way. No, it was almost harder with the bigger needles.
I keep on looking at a set and I'm like, no, not until you learn more.
Isn't it tempting? Oh,
I did. I was lucky though. I was at who's having their big clearance sale right now?
Joanne.
No, not Joanne's, the other one, Hobby Lobby. And I was there to get beads because I also make my own stitch markers. And
oh, nice.
I didn't have money for because I was just starting with the stitch markers for their clearance last year. But I went a couple weeks after it was done and looked, and they still had the bamboo circular knitting needles that I got from Knit Picks. And I got like 5 different sizes, actually 6 or 7 sizes. And they were like 75. They ranged from like 25 cents, 50 cents, 75 cents. Then all I had to do was buy the cords for them, which were like $8.
Golly.
And I got the connectors for 25 cents.
Everything is sold separate?
Depending on, you can buy kits. It all depends on if you just need one set or, whatever. But since I found the needles that cheap, I just went then and bought the cords.
Oh, okay. Okay. I see what you're saying.
Kits all together, but you can also buy separately.
Okay. Okay.
Lily says, I knit till I went to college, but then I switched to crochet because it was faster. Although some people can knit so fast, there's no way I'll ever be able to do that.
It's remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah. Lyra Stitchery, I am left-handed, so I couldn't even learn crochet. There are some really good left-handed people who put up some good videos.
The Shetland lace knitters out of Scotland, it's either Scotland or England. It's unbelievable. Those ladies, they just go so fast, and they make these like see-through Shetland lace shawls that are worth tens of thousands of dollars. They practically go straight from the sheep to the needle. Amazing.
If you look up Hook to the Left, her name is Mel. She's wonderful. She will put out videos and she'll show it left-handed first, and then she will mirror it for right-handed.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Lyra's sister also says, I am left-handed and couldn't even crochet until YouTube because books were all, if you are left-handed, read right-handed instructions and good luck. And my name is Lyra. Sorry, Lyra. That's just I've been in music for so long. To me, it looked like lyrical. So it's just natural. Sorry. Jonesy, my Oma, Dutch grandmother, taught me to crochet, and I've recently inherited some knitting needles. They are staring at me, but I'm scared to try.
I'm
Silly.
scared too.
You know, I've been scared for years, and I finally said, I'm going to try it. And I've been having so much fun. And
Oh,
because
good.
crochet can seem sometimes like a job, I find peace at night when I sit here and knit.
Oh, wonderful. Now after this, I'm going to try again thinking, okay, I can do it. And then I'm going to get discouraged.
Okay. And the reason we are here tonight, now we should get started, is we are here to talk about the history of crochet terms. And like I said, when we first came on, nobody was here yet. Kaylin and I looked and researched, and we couldn't find a whole lot on the history of terms. And she's like, I've been watching Corrina, and I had your channel and I'd subscribed, but I hadn't had time to sit down and watch a whole lot. And I had watched a couple videos, and she's like, I've been watching her, and she's like, it'll be this word, and today it's, now it's this. And so she's like, I think we should talk to her. And she has graciously said she'll come on. So we're going to let her talk to us about crochet terms and how they have changed from at least the vintage patterns till now. And even when I went and looked at my books from the 80s and stuff, it's all basically the same as what we're using now.
Yes. Yeah.
So
terms from the 30s, the 1930s on up in the US are pretty much the same.
Okay. Let me read Lyra's comment first. How would you finish a lace tablecloth? My mom loves the lace cloth that my heart grandma made, so I spent the last 5 years making it. Hopefully it will be done for her birthday on Friday. I've never made one, so I couldn't help you with that. The closest I've gotten is I made my grandma a filet crochet angel that she used to have on the back of her chair. And Sandra is saying, thank you for that, Corrina.
I don't use anything less than a 2/8, and that's only because I had to make something in a 2/8. I don't know how to do lace either.
I would suggest just Google or going on YouTube and just searching for a finishing for a lace tablecloth. I'm sorry I can't help you more than that. I would love to, because I want to make lace. That's why I have my little teeny tiny steel hooks. But I just haven't gotten there. I started with doilies back in my 20s, and I haven't gone back because I just started garments, and that's my thing that I'm trying to do now. So, but I plan on getting back there. I've got a lot of fingering weight yarn in my cabinet that I want to make a shawl with and some different things. So. Okay.
Okay, so the reason why it was so hard to find a definitive source of crochet terms is because they only exist in the patterns and in the individual books. There is so much of it that it takes a lot to compile it. I did compile it down to the bare bone basics in my packet, of course, but it's just over a year of working all these patterns. And as you know, I have almost 215 videos on my channel, and each one had its own character. Each pattern has its own character, its own stitch terms. But the best source to learn is to just pick up these books, and you can find a lot of them online, and just start studying them. As this book here is from the 1870s, and the stitch terms are right there for crochet. They tell you what the term is called, and then they physically show you how to make it, and they also spell out, they describe how to make it. So, and this is all in UK stitch terms. These older books, in fact, in the 1800s, it didn't matter if your pattern was being written in Australia, Canada, the US, or the UK. It was all using old school original UK terms. The terms didn't really start to change until around the 1870s, the centennial of the US, patriotism. Now, this is all my speculation, but I feel like my speculation comes with such strong correlation that it only makes sense, but it's not written in stone. So I speculate that the stitch terms really, and I know this because I work a lot of 1870s patterns, 1880s patterns, and then 1850s and 60s patterns. And I see that wall hits right there in the 1870s. The United States celebrates its centennial. It feels this renewed spark of patriotism and wanting to really have its own identity in all things, including fiber arts. Why not?
Yeah.
So then we start to see a huge change in the way stitch terms are used in patterns totally separate from UK patterns.
Yeah, I had read on one of the pages I did find that they said it seems like things changed after the Civil War.
After the Civil War, but I would say that
Even a little farther. Yeah.
I would definitely put that in the latter half of the 1870s, 1875 on up. And that's whenever we see treble crochet really start to be pushed as a double crochet here in the US. We start seeing single crochet not being referred to as a slip stitch, which it always was until around the 1870s. And we start seeing it being used as what we now know as a single crochet. And we see them go from miss a stitch to skip a stitch. We just start seeing a more of a identifiably different US stitch term within the Victorian era. And this causes so much confusion when trying to work these old vintage and antique patterns, because really, unless you know the stitch terms, you don't know if you're working a US or UK pattern. The best way to identify if you are working a US or a UK pattern is, first of all, look at the picture of your pattern. Is it obvious that there are single crochets? What we here in the US know as a single crochet in the pattern. For example, a doily. Most doilies are going to have many rows of single crochet, but yet the pattern is telling you from the jump to work double crochets. Throughout the whole pattern, it's telling you to work. That's how you know you're working a UK pattern, because in the UK, a double crochet is equivalent to a US single crochet.
Right.
The reason that the stitch terms are identified that way is because when you make a double crochet here in the US, you yarn over. Now there are 2 stitches on your hook. And whenever you go through, you're working, okay, you already have your 1 stitch on your hook, right? Then you yarn over to make a double crochet. You go in and you pull through 2, pull through 2. They call that a treble because by the time you've yarned over, gone in and drawn up a loop, there are 3 loops on your hook. That means it's a treble crochet in the UK. We call it a double crochet because we pull through 2 twice.
Right.
And so that's where US pattern writers were like, well, it just makes more sense to us as we pull through 3 times, that's a treble. We pull through twice, that's a double. We pull through once, that's a single. We are slipping through both loops at the same time, that's a slip stitch. And so there's that. And it can be dauntingly confusing. And trust me, it has been. And I've expressed that confusion a lot on camera. But then you go back even further and almost none of those stitch terms exist. And you've got your plain, which is your what we know as a single crochet. And you've got your shepherd stitch, which is what we know as a slip stitch. And way back then in the 1830s, crochet was almost entirely just utilitarian, or it was only used for finishing up something that was knitted. So if you're making a jacket, then you will use a shepherd stitch in crochet to create the cuff, which is a slip stitch cuff. Mm-hmm. But predominantly it was used for making nets. Fishermen would use it. Soldiers would use crochet in the 1830s and even earlier, but they called it tambour. It was tambouring, where you punch through, and you used it for mending out on the battlefield mostly. And that's I would say Europe's birth into crochet. We really don't know where crochet began.
Yeah.
Almost every country on earth that is proud of their crochet claims that they're the ones who invented it. I mean, you're going to find the Chinese claim it, many African countries claim it, the Middle East
claim it,
the French claim it. And
if you guys want a more in-depth on that, we covered that in the first part of this series. Yeah.
And I mean, And as far as Tunisian crochet goes, like I've been studying into that just a little bit. The earliest findings of Tunisian crochet even existing in the Middle East was in the 1930s. It didn't exist there. Even though it's called Tunisian crochet, turns out it's not from Tunisia. The French started calling it Tunisian crochet back in the 1820s. And
Wow.
and it was the British that started calling it what's it called? Tricot. The French, the British, the French called it Tunisian. The British called it tricot crochet. And so it's just that I'm really going to get into Tunisian crochet and put out a whole video on that. But
Yeah, I can't wait because I think that's another one. It won't be part of this series because this is basically crochet.
yes,
That was another one I was going to bring up to Kaylin for us to do later on.
absolutely. There's so much history to it. And I believe your email started off with asking me about the Van Dyke stitch. So as far as the Van Dyke stitch goes, the earliest, I thought it was in the 1840s, but it's right on 1850. I have a video featuring right where I found that Van Dyke stitch term being referenced. And that video is actually called, Can I Work Out This 1849 Crochet Pattern? It's an earlier video on my channel. And the Van Dyke stitch is what we know today as the granny stitch, where you start off with 4 with your chain ones in between, you know, your 4 groups of 3 double crochet. Then the next time you're going to work your 3 groups of 3 double crochet, chain 1, next chain 1 space, and carry on. But that term back in the day, and I'm certain it was in the 1840s as well, was called the Van Dyke stitch. And then it went on to be called a cluster stitch, then a fan stitch, then a cluster stitch. In the 1940s and 50s, it was called a cluster stitch. And then by the 1960s, we call it a granny stitch because of the granny square.
Okay. So what was the term that you just had in the bag that I told you I watched you that instead of a star stitch?
Oh, the point. Yeah, I have that book right here. The point neige, Neige, point
That's right.
neige stitch. I've never seen that. That was the first time I ever seen it referred to that way before.
I thought that was a cool term for it.
I thought that was too. So yes, in these books, and including in this one, at the very front of the book, they're going to give you a breakdown of the stitch terms to help quell any confusion. And all of these, including U.S. patterns throughout the majority of the Victorian era, were all written in UK stitch terminology.
If you still happen to still be here, Jonesy, thank you for stopping in. It was great to meet you. Which, in case you didn't, sorry, I try not to do comments while we're talking, but sometimes we have
Yes,
to.
no, of course. It's
In case you missed it, and I can't remember how you said to say your name now, Leela, I think it is. Jonesy said there are lots of fantastic tutorials on YouTube for lace edging, also on Pinterest, loads of great ideas and patterns. I always forget about Pinterest. So there's the housekeeping. So
do you have any questions? It's easier if I have questions because then I can just go.
well, I was going to, when you got ready, I was going to ask everybody in chat if they have any, especially since there are a few people who watch you on a consistent basis in here.
Oh, okay. I
And
just
for
sort of took off like a
else,
rabbit, didn't I?
If you have any questions, please ask. Sunita says, hi, AJK, and OMG, Corrina.
Oh my God, Sunita.
Hi, Sunita. Good to see you again tonight.
I was getting tired. I think we all is, huh?
My husband's been here playing with the cats. He's getting pooped out.
Except for Clue. She's ready to go. You ready to get it, huh? Well, all right.
And Ambi's just welcoming Sunita in. It sometimes takes a couple minutes for people to have questions.
That's just fine.
I know I have questions about something else, but it's something we're going to do later. So
Well, I have.
I guess it's still a term. It's not a term on how to make it. But what intrigued me when I started watching you is all the different names for yarn.
Yes. And Of course, that's all covered in my packet as well. Yeah, you've got your Berlin, your Shetland, your ice wool, the purse twist, I still can't pronounce it right, but it's Chine with an accent over the E. So shiny, I don't know. They always tell me how to pronounce it in my comment section, and then the next time I have to pronounce it, I completely forget.
Well, that's kind of, for me, that's like the Sharpstees yarn. I've had somebody from Germany tell me exactly how to say it, and I had it down pat. And then when I tried to do it on my channel, I was like,
I featured their yarn just once. That was the 18-something gentleman's scarf, and it was using a Tunisian crochet. I can't pronounce. I just pronounce it sheepshees.
that's
And
what
I know that's not correct.
but I know it's got a really hard, like,
Yes.
and I just like,
My favorite yarn and hook to use. I don't have a favorite yarn because I love them all. That's I know what a stupid vague answer, but it's the truth.
I do the same thing.
And as far as a favorite hook to use, Susan Bates Quicksilver is my favorite. I don't know why they stopped making them. That's the Tunisian and that's the regular. And I'm so sad I only have one Quicksilver Susan Bates hook in the regular sizes. I've got nearly a full set of the Quicksilver. Boy, I lucked out. And I got nearly a full set. These are, I double dog, triple dog dare you to find one of these on the internet anywhere.
You know, when I think about it, I think I only have one, but I love that hook too. And I sit here and I think, why don't they have more of these? And I never knew what it was called. I thought it was some type of a plastic.
It is an aluminum hook with is some kind of baking process. It's almost enamel baked on there to give it that glassy, glossy feel.
Mm-hmm.
And they're amazing. I love them. So my favorite hook is the Susan Bates Quicksilver hooks. My regular hooks are the Clover hooks. But yeah, Susan Bates. Susan Bates is my favorite brand.
I wanted to know if you have a favorite hook size as well.
I don't have a favorite hook size. I like to crochet, so whatever the pattern calls for is what I'm going to use, and it's my favorite for that day.
Jennifer says, I'm a new crocheter and have learned so much from watching Corrina.
Oh, wonderful. I'd love to hear that.
And hi, everybody who's new coming in. Welcome in. Corrina has been talking about the terms for us, and she wants to know if anybody has questions on terms. Lyra is
no, I did not finish.
Topic maybe. Corrina, did you ever finish the peacock and the trellis fillet crochet?
I surely did not. You know, I am so busy. I put out videos every 2 days. You know, that requires almost constant crocheting, which, by the way, in the last year I have put on 20 pounds.
Wow.
Just from sitting here day in, day out, crocheting to get a video out every 2 days. So unfortunately, no, I have it. It's still sitting right here. I'm still on row 20 something. And, you know, maybe whenever I take another one of my like 2-week breaks, I can work on it a bit. But unfortunately, I just don't have the time.
You know, when I have people ask me, like, what's your favorite stitch? I'm like, I don't know. I'm still learning. Even after 54 years, I'm still learning. Mm-hmm. Like, I've never done the star stitch when I was watching you do it. I'm like,
oh, okay.
I have patterns that I want to make that have it, but I just haven't used it yet.
It was a really, really that stitch took off, I would say, in the Edwardian era, and then in like the World War II era, beyond the Edwardian era into the 1920s. That stitch was super popular then for just about everything.
Michelle says, we used to call them Afghan hooks before I called them Tunisian hooks. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier because I have an Afghan hooks, but mine have the double end. And I always thought the Afghan hooks were to make, it's like Tunisian, but it is Tunisian, but it's a way to do it. So then it is Tunisian. I forgot about that. It is, but it's a way to make it so that the Afghan is double-sided.
I have one of those double-sided hooks. There we go. I know that the double-sided hooks are really good for color changing this way and that way, right?
You have to use 2 colors, yeah. So, yeah. But that's what makes it reversible. Lyra says, also, my phone is acting up. So sorry if some of my stuff comes out weird, like posting the same question twice. It's okay. We see it all the time.
Yeah.
And no, I did not make the Dolly Parton jacket. I have received some squares. I ran into a little bit of issues with doing the Dolly Parton jacket. I was receiving some emails of people getting kind of upset that I wasn't picking the charity that they wanted me to pick. And it was just causing too many problems. So I sort of quietly walked away from that, because the last time I had problems on my channel, it was really rough. And that was just from trying to do a giveaway, but I couldn't afford to ship outside the US.
Oh yeah, I heard you talk about that. But you know what? I can't ship outside the US, and all my giveaways are done in the US. A lot of people do it that way.
Yes, I know. And oh my goodness,
people get upset, but they just have to know that's,
my channel faced a very vicious bot attack after that happened. And so whenever I started getting a couple of emails of people like, I can't believe you're not going to pick this, and I can't believe you're not going to go with the charity that I recommended, I thought to myself, no, okay, I'm going to stop this.
Well, you're also your channel's a lot, bigger than ours. So we don't deal with some of that stuff.
So I do have these beautiful squares. I've received probably 6 or 7 squares from people. I intend to use them in something. They're right there in my project box under all of my patterns, and they're at the top, so they're not buried. I didn't forget about them. I see them every time I walk over to my pattern shelf. I just had to abandon the Dolly Parton jacket because I wanted to prevent any more catastrophes.
Well, I can tell you something I want to do, and I've seen another. I don't know if you've heard of Chronically Crocheting.
Mm-mm.
Her name is Crystal. She is such a sweet lady.
Another Crystal.
Another Crystal. She had people send her squares so that she could make herself a sweater, a cardigan.
Oh, a cardigan.
So she could feel like she was wrapped up in everybody's love.
Oh, that's a wonderful idea.
So many of them that she made an Afghan as well.
Oh my goodness. Talk about being blessed.
A Afghan. I know I sent her a couple, but I wanted to do the same thing because I'm like, I love everybody, and I tell everybody how much I love them, and I want to get to know everybody, like my family. And I'm like, that would be so cool to collect squares from people and either make an Afghan or something, so that when I'm not having a good day and I'm just sitting here not feeling well, I can just wrap up in it.
I absolutely treasure that idea, and I think I'm going to incorporate it on my channel.
So
thank you for the wonderful idea.
So sorry, Kaylin.
Lily posted a question and you didn't read it. So,
oh, sorry. I was gonna. Sanita says, "Ooh, that's awesome. I prefer that crochet all day than adulting." Let me see. I got to go back then. Which one did I miss?
Lily Robinson.
What has been the most interesting thing you learned while doing vintage crochet? Sorry, Lily.
The most interesting thing I learned has to be just basically the history of the stitch terms and their definitions. And of course, going from UK to US, now they're the 2 most dominant stitch terms out there, just translated into different languages. And I find that to be the most interesting, is just that breakaway. And how at first when it broke away, it didn't quite break away all the way. So you're seeing terms like long stitch, but they mean a half double or a double crochet. It's US pattern writers confusing the hell out of everyone by trying to come up with their own names, and it just being kind of chaos. I think that's the most interesting thing that I have learned in this vintage journey.
Michelle says, which era would Corrina like to crochet the most, and how is her vault jacket coming along?
I saw that question and I grabbed my vault jacket. The era I like, my most favorite era, is the 1970s. I absolutely love the 1970s crochet. I love everything 1970s. I would say if I had top 3, it would be the 1970s, the late Victorian era, and the early Victorian era. I like all of the Victorian era and the 1970s mostly. My least favorite has to be the 1940s and 1950s. It was a very boring time for crochet. It was nothing but pot holders and creepy, scary looking stuffed dolls. And mostly children's clothing. And as far as for women go, it was like these things you wear around your neck that just look like bibs, and they in some patterns call them bibs, and I find that to be incredibly, I don't know, degrading almost. Like, are you wearing your bib?
Yeah. Lyrica Stitcher says, also, I subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much. And if you would please subscribe to Kaylin too. We jump back and forth between channels every month. So that's why you're seeing both of our things come up, if you wouldn't mind. But thank you very much. I appreciate that so much. Thrifty Crocheter says, do you keep everything you make? And how is your notebook with small projects coming along?
Okay, I don't keep everything I make. Some things I, especially on my It's Not Knit channel, which is where I have my own designs, a lot of that stuff is made to fit my mannequin. So I just undo that. It's like an extra small size. So I just undo that and reuse the yarn. As far as the vintage channel goes, I have kept, I would say, probably about 60% of the things I have made, and the rest has been donated or given away to family and friends who would get more use out of it than me.
I need to find your other channel. I thought you only had 2, so you have 3?
I have 3. My start on YouTube was with a channel called It's Not Knit. That was just me being sassy because I get tired of people saying, oh, I remember my grandmother used to knit things like that. Oh, it's crochet.
Yeah, I know. I used to be like, I don't knit, I crochet.
I create magic with a stick and a thread. That's a thread and string combined. It's called It's Not Knit, and that's going to be all my own designs. And it's more modern. It's completely modern designs. Ponchos and crop tops and things of that nature. And then I have my Everyday Corrina, which used to be called just Corrina, but it's Everyday Corrina now, which is my junk drawer.
I love that channel.
Yes, that one there has just got a hodgepodge of, some of my videos are over an hour long of just me doing my makeup and hanging out. So the Vault-Tec jacket is coming along. I had to undo everything that you saw in that video because it was the way wrong size. It was too big and I got the front panels wrong. So I took it apart and restarted it. So here is my back panel. And the other day, whenever I was done making this bag here, I had some more extra energy and extra time. So I started making my front panel with the yellow stripe on there, like tapestry style.
Kaylin,
so that's how that's coming along. I still have 5 months before this has to be ready for that event. So I'm okay still.
What did you say, Anjanette?
Will you check for questions for me for a minute? I got to turn my cam off for a second.
Yes, that's fine.
Hey, Jen, can you bump the AC down 1 notch for me, please?
Well, I have a question real quick.
Mm-hmm.
What is your favorite change between like the British to American terminology? Like, do you have a favorite name that it was before it changed or now that it's changed?
Yeah. The Van Dyke stitch is one of them. I use it. I only call it a Van Dyke stitch now because I absolutely treasure that term. And that was a UK term. Let's see. There are some others. The shepherd stitch. I wish we still called a slip stitch a shepherd stitch. I find that to be so charming. Let's see. Now you're wanting to know what were my favorite UK terms, right?
Whatever term was is your favorite. Like if it was before or if it was after.
Picot is my favorite crochet stitch term of all time. I love the picots. I love saying it. I like the sound of it. So Picot is my favorite stitch term.
Okay.
And I think that one there is universal, both UK and US.
Yeah. Jennifer said, your favorite item you've ever made?
That is all of them. Like as of late, the little baggie I just made is now my new favorite item I ever made. But my favorite things to make are ponchos. I am a poncho queen. So my favorite things to make are ponchos. So naturally, the any poncho I've ever made is my favorite thing. As far as vintage goes, I would have to say my most favorite vintage thing I made was the bag that we featured, the Irish crochet opera bag we featured in the Titanic video, the first Titanic video I made.
Yeah, I saw that.
That is a prized possession.
Yeah.
And number 2 on that list, just a moment. Okay, so this is from my second mystery pattern I ever did. And it was at the time the oldest bag I ever made. This is one of my favorites and I still have it. So this was from almost a year ago. And these are bags that were made using the first 2. Well, this one was made using the first ever printed crochet pattern, and it was a French pattern.
Oh,
And
wow.
this bag was made using a pattern that was the first English printed crochet pattern out of Scotland. And so these are also my favorite just because of what they represent, the birth of what we are today, what we have today.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully that answers that.
And good morning, Jen Brandon. Hi to you as well. Thank you. I'm sorry, you mentioned having a little bit more energy, and I forgot I'm on prednisone, which gave me a ton of energy yesterday. I'm like, oh, I forgot to take it, and you're supposed to take it at the same time.
Yes,
I had to go take it, and
you have to take it at the same time for it to work.
it
Just
was
like a
5
birth control
pills till
pill.
it gets stuck, so I had to leave for a second.
The last question or the next question will be
Is Sanja's, right? Okay, yeah, I was paying attention. Sanja says, can you explain the biggest difference between the crochet of the past as compared to now?
Yes, so the crochet of the past was largely utilitarian. As you get into the later parts of the 1800s, you see it used more in fashion. So then we start to see lacier shawls, lacier cuffs, lacier, prettier collars. But at the start of I would say Queen Victoria's reign, so the 1830s on up, you see crochet is largely utilitarian. You're going to see it for table mats, tablecloths, perhaps a Sontag, something that you wear underneath just to keep warm. You're going to find that's about as far as it goes. Bags, a lot of Tunisian crochet bags, but as you get closer to the Edwardian era, so the turn of the century, that's whenever crochet really gets exciting. The Edwardian era is probably one of the most exciting times in the history of crochet because that's whenever you see all that stuff that we see like in my Titanic videos. Your very ornate, lacy crochet kicked the door open and said, step aside, knit, because I have more purpose than just being a hammock or a handbag for collecting wheat and turnips in. I'm more useful than that. I am actually pretty. And you start seeing these books featuring whole filet crochet dresses, headdresses. Everything is lacy. And we see the Irish crochet really find its foothold in the Edwardian era, even though it existed long before then. Because of print and because of these books and because of the transatlantic trade, we're now getting books here in the US and in Canada and in Australia of these Irish crochet books coming out of Europe. And oh my gosh. And so Irish crochet becomes a hot commodity in the Edwardian era and in World War II, because it's not just something that you crochet like a doily or something. No, Irish crochet is I would say next to Russian crochet, the most complicated form of crochet, but you're going to create the most ornate, beautiful works of art. Like, oh, I wish I could show you this full-blown dress in the Edwardian era. So it's all pigeon-chested, the Gibson girls. And it is a full-blown Irish crochet lace. It would probably take 15 years to make.
Wow.
And
Sounds
with Irish
awesome.
crochet, you have to put your pins all over a lace board, and you literally crochet from the pin to the next pin and all of your crochet is done flat against a board. You use your thread to create cording, and you crochet around that cording to create a 3D effect. And you can create a 3D effect on top of that 3D effect and create these grapes. And oh my God, the Edwardian era is like the best, most exciting time for crochet. Everything before that is kind of poo-poo.
I love the fact that Queen Elizabeth made 8 scarves that she gave to the military for
Right.
each branch of her military.
Yes.
And we had showed a picture of that scarf. And I just thought that was so cool that Queen Elizabeth herself made those scarves. And there's at least one still in a museum.
That is quite remarkable. And Queen Victoria was also the queen of crochet. That was her favorite thing. She did know how to knit. She did know how to do needlepoint. Her favorite thing was crochet. And I actually have a book. It's actually available in my Etsy shop, and it is doilies that were in Queen Victoria's palace. I'm not sure. I think she was living in. No, she did the what's it called? Where does the king live now? What is that palace called? Help me out here.
Buckingham?
Buckingham. I don't think Buckingham Palace existed at the start of her reign, didn't it? Wasn't it constructed while she was queen?
I couldn't tell you about all the different queens back.
Okay, well, I know that there's
I know I've been trying to watch and learn more history, but
oh yes. There is a book of crochet doilies that somebody wrote for the queen to make, and she did make them, and they were all over the palace, and they're still all over the palace still to this day.
and she also bought a lot of Irish crochet to help
Yes.
the Irish get money during the time of their great famine.
Yeah, and whenever the Irish came here, like on the Titanic, for example, their stock and trade, those women, was their Irish crochet. They would spend all that time on those boats working on their Irish crochet. So whenever they got here, they could sell it or give it to the person who's hosting them or trade it. It was so valuable. But yes, you're absolutely correct. Queen Victoria did do that. It still really didn't take off until after the transatlantic trade started with the steamships. And
Right,
we
right.
started getting
Not
not
only
only
they were able to take it all over.
exactly, because we didn't really
We're
have
backing up on
Irish crochet in the
questions
US.
here. So
Yeah, I'm sorry. I guess my answer
no, it's okay. You're fine.
There's so much to say, you know.
Yeah, I'm going to say real quick. Take a deep breath, because I don't want you. I know that you're afraid of like your voice maybe going out or getting tired out. So maybe take a second, take a deep breath while I find the next question.
Sure.
I'm a massage therapist, so I just, as people start getting and you feel the energy, I always say, take a step back and just take a nice deep breath. So that way,
Oh, I'm excited. I'm jacked
like,
up right now.
tumble over, you know. Not that, you know, I love your energy. I love it.
Unfortunately, it's there.
We already did that one and that one. Michelle wants to know, does your son like picking out the patterns and blanking them out?
Sometimes he does not. I'll tell him, hey, I'm down to 4 patterns left in this bowl. Do you want to get a head start on it? Because it can take a few days. No, I'll wait. Of course, he'll wait till I'm down to 2 or 3 patterns. I need them now. Fine. So then it becomes more of a chore because now I'm impeding on his day. Sometimes he enjoys it, especially whenever he picks out really hard ones he knows. And I think those are just for revenge. But he'll pick out some doozies. He picked out a hammock once, and I started working on it. I had to actually trash that video. I couldn't do it. The kid is nuts, okay?
Well, I saw the naughty one.
He's picked out some naughty ones. The shoes, he knows I don't do shoes, but he's put twice now shoes. I don't do shoes.
I have to ask, how did that get started? How did he start?
I had an idea. I was sitting here one day. Justin was sitting at the dinner table right there. And I said, Justin, I have an idea for my channel. My channel's maybe a month or 2 months old at this point. I said, I have an idea. What if I sat right there in the living room and you can hold the camera over me while I just throw all of my patterns up in the air And the first one I land my hand on, I have to make. And he goes, that's dumb. There's a much better way to do this. And he said, what if we had some patterns picked out that you didn't pick out, and everything was cut and blacked out of them that could tell you what it possibly is with numbers, and you just pluck the number and work that pattern, and then you discover what it is once you've made it. And I'm like, freaking genius. So Justin is actually, I opened the door, but Justin is the brainchild behind the mystery patterns. And sometimes he's not in the mood to pick out patterns. So sometimes it'll take like 5 days for me to replenish my bowl. Usually he gets it done in 2 or 3 days. He's pretty good about it. He knows.
I just thought when I saw you do that, I was just like, wow, how did she think of something like that?
It was mostly Justin that came up with it. I have to give the kid the credit.
Kids think of some wonderful things.
Oh, he's very clever. He's thought of several and my brother too. He comes up with several clever things for my channel. But then I start thinking, man, I need to come up with my own ideas. So like the Titanic series is my idea. The Little House on the Prairies was my idea. But those are like,
I love the little.
Isn't that sweet? That was
That's
so
what I started with, was watching, and I love the one with Ma's shawls.
I have another shawl I'm going to look into making. A viewer sent me, she's from Canada, I think from Canada. No, she's from here in the US, but she sent me some screenshots of the Virginian. And there is a shawl that the main woman in that movie or TV show is wearing. And it is a beautiful shawl. And she wants to try to find the pattern and she can't. So I'm going to see if I can't try to work that pattern out for her in a video. Now, normally I do not take pattern requests, but this is totally different. This isn't a pattern request. This is a desperate call to action.
Well, that's my favorite show, and I'm waiting for it to come back on, is Outlander. And you have all of these books for reproducing the knitted patterns. And I'm like, what about the crochet patterns? There are a ton of crochet patterns in that show.
Crochet gets no love.
And I'm like, or why can't, and finally somebody did the, one of the channels I watched, Tess Loves Crochet, she did the cowl, and I made the cowl, and it's gorgeous, but there are so many things I want to make, but I can only find the knit version. Somebody needs to make a better crochet book. If I find some things, it's just little things where the knit one has the cardigans and, the gorgeous shawls and the jacket that Bridget wore. And I'm just like going, come on, somebody please. Because I never thought that I would ever start designing ever. And then one day I was just like, oh, I want to change this up. Or I just started changing up patterns. And then when we had a new baby coming into, I was like, I love this stitch that I saw, and I converted it to go for a baby blanket. But I'm like, maybe I'll do more, maybe I won't. I don't know. But I'm not somebody who can look at something and then try and recreate it.
I find the trickiest part of designing is the wearables. It's shawls are easy, but I mean fitted wearables like cardigans and things like that, because you have to not only figure out how to make it fit on you or your mannequin, but on every other human size that exists.
Yeah. Well, see, I'm a tech editor, so I had to learn, I know where to at least find the charts to find the different sizing and all of that. So let's see. I'm going to say it wrong again. I know. Lyra Stitchery, she wants to know, are you going to put a vault number on the back?
Yes, I did. Okay. I already made the numbers. So because it is Fallout New Vegas, one of the most popular vaults in New Vegas is vault number 21, because it's a vault that won't, murder you the moment you go in there. So there is the 2. Oh, this looks terrible just hanging. Okay, maybe you can see there's the 2 and then the 1. So, well, it's going to look better whenever I actually have it on the jacket. This is a little more stretched out like it's supposed to be. Yes, number 21. So I am super stoked for that. I can't wait.
Ambi says, something I have noticed is that in early to mid 1900s, people crocheted without patterns more or created their own patterns. How does that affect terms? Have you noticed that? And she says, is that correct?
I haven't noticed that because everything I work on is from a pattern. So
Yeah, because that's the only way to study it is when you have the pattern. You don't,
yes.
unless you
I
have a
would-
ton of pictures of things that people made themselves.
I would imagine that when you make something so many times, you don't need a pattern anymore. So you think to yourself, well, I need a fresh set of goblet doilies. Okay, well, I made those all my life since I'm 9 years old. I can make one up without a pattern. I can make a triangle shawl without a pattern, a rectangle shawl without a pattern, especially if it's just a one common stitch repeat. And I don't think anything like that ever needs a pattern, but everything I have experience with was from a pattern, and all of my learning came from patterns.
Yeah, but then again, I mean, a lot of people like me, I wouldn't know how to create my own triangle shawl yet until I, finish making my own, which I'm finishing like my second one. So I'm
It's
like,
mostly a matter. It's
do
mostly a matter of figuring out the formula. You have to increase in the middle, and you have to increase on either both sides or just one side, this row, this side, that row. Either way, it's just a matter of figuring out the formula.
Right.
It's the same basic formula all across the board. You start with a V and you go from there.
Okay. I don't know if I missed something, but Michelle says the brown poncho on It's Not Knit is divine.
Yes, I'm actually, oh, how funny you said that. I'm making another one as we speak. The other day I was saying I need a new poncho. Well, I absolutely adore this one, but I want to make it in this beautiful white. And I don't have it next to me, but it's this like hunter green, tealy with a little touch of teal in it kind of color. And I think it's going to be beautiful. So I'm working on that exact poncho as we speak.
Okay. So you guys have to forgive me. We're not used to having so many comments, so I had to stop them so that
Sure. No, it's okay.
well, I'm letting them know. That's why I'm so behind too. Ambi says that is so amazing, and those are lovely. I'm not sure what she was talking about now.
I think she's talking about these bags.
Okay, probably. Sanja says, I have a book saved in my cart on thrift books about Irish crochet. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think I actually have a course that I had paid for that I haven't gone and looked at yet because I've been doing so many other things.
Girl, don't pay for it. It exists on YouTube free.
Yeah, well, I think it came with another course that I did.
Oh, okay.
When you buy one and then you can get one for like $2 or something like that.
Okay, that makes sense.
I was taking a color changing course, and that I wasn't into all the YouTube channels yet. I was into all of the looking at blogs and things.
Oh, okay, yes.
So, and it really helped me a lot. I made my
wonderful.
first, tapestry that I did for my daughter after I did that. So, Ambi says, OMG, that does sound exciting, and I love that. And Sanja says, oh, that would be so cool. Since I stopped the chat, I don't know what they were talking about now. Ambi says, Kensington, I think to the castle, what you were trying to think.
Oh, okay. You know what? That sounds right.
Welcome in, AMCN. She says, Royal Doilies sounds like a cool exhibit. Ambi says, this is so amazing and wonderful to listen to. And yes, it is. I've just been sitting here like in awe. And I think this is the one I was trying to think of. Windsor Castle is what Lyra says. And that's where, isn't that where when he was, he is still Prince William, but isn't that where he was?
I think
living?
so.
Or where he is living. I can't remember if they moved to the big castle or not. And isn't that where Lady Di, when they got divorced, didn't she live in Windsor with the boys? So. Hi, Chris is here, and he's says, I try, and you give me too much credit, so I don't know where that. And AMCN says the mystery patterns are fun. Yes, they are.
They're a little stressful on my end, but they're also fun, especially whenever I've completed it and it's a success or it's goofy. I can just laugh.
Do you know who Hi Chris is? Perchance?
Me?
Yeah.
No. Hi, Chris.
When they said you give me too much credit, I had wondered if maybe it was your son.
Right after you were talking about your son, he was the genius.
Oh, that is my son. That is my son. Okay. I'm not used to seeing his YouTube name. Does it look like it's like yellow and black Yeah, that's Justin.
Yeah, when it said that, I'm like, that has to be. I figured that had to. Okay. Ambi says I have to go and watch those videos. AMCN says I love the little house shawls. Yes, so much. Just a small town girl, welcome in. Says I'm a longtime subscriber of Corrina's, and she is amazing. The best part
thank
of my
you.
days are when she posts a video. How's Merlin?
Merlin is wonderful. He's right here. He's right down here. He's a good boy.
Ambi says you have to watch Outlander. It is Scottish. I love Outlander.
I need to.
Ambi was saying hi to just a small town girl. Sanjay says yes, but he is tired of us now. LOL. Don't know what that's about. Just a small town girl says hello, Ambi. AMCN says I'm making the Cardi shawl, loving it so far.
I love that thing. It's a compliment, crowd pleasing. Yeah, you're gonna get a lot of compliments wearing that.
What is it, if I may ask?
It is a shawl from a late 1960s pattern, but I stitched the bottom. It is one of those you make a big granny square and you sew them all together, all different colors. Well, at the bottom of the granny square, I decided to sew that part shut so that it wears like a cardigan and it never falls off. So it's a big shawl that wears like a big old triangle cardigan that never falls.
That's so cool.
And it's loaded with so much fringe, so much hippy dippy. When I wear that, I am like invoking my inner Stevie Nicks. I feel so
I love Stevie
60s and 70s in that thing. And
I love the hippie era. I love all that, but I am not into fringe as much.
That's okay.
But I love the clothes and how they flow. And
well, it's literally, if you're ever curious, it's on my channel. It's literally called, the Cardi shawl, CARDI-shawl. It's a fun pattern.
My daughter messaged me about her dog, so I whoopsied. Oh, that's fine, Sanja. Just me, Tracy Lee. Hello, welcome in. Says hello, everyone from Missouri. And Ambi is saying, I love her. I have to watch her videos. So,
I think we're caught up.
Yes, we are caught up. So if anybody else has some more questions to get in there,
Hi.
We'll be on for just a little bit longer. I know for a couple of us, it's been a very long day. Yes. Kathy says, I definitely need to check out the Cardi shawl.
Oh, yes, it's fun.
Kathy has a closet full of shawls. She makes beautiful, gorgeous, wonderful shawls.
Yeah, that's right up Kathy's alley.
She's the one who's gotten me hooked on wanting to make them. And I think the favorite one, I did a sample shawl. I don't know. Have you ever heard of Mesos Gaines? She's a hand dyer.
No, I haven't.
I did a sample shawl for her. She did her first big show in Dallas, Fort Worth at one of the big shows. And mine, she put it on the mannequin and it was just gorgeous. And it was one of those things, usually I'm like, oh, I wish I could keep this for me or whatever. And I was just so happy to make it for her and send it to her because it was so beautiful.
What a proud moment.
I've gotten to the point now that I'm like, as long as I make something beautiful, I don't need to, because I've never really made anything for me. I've always given it away, and then I saw a shawl I wanted to make. I'm like, oh, I want to make that for me. But now I'm like, in my head, I'm just like, I've always loved giving it away. So as long as I make it or like a special yarn that I want to work with, as long as I get to work with it and then give it to somebody, there's nothing better than that.
Oh, yeah. I will admit I'm a little selfish. I like to keep things. I like making long bohemian style crochet skirts. I've got, I think 4 of them in my closet that I've made over.
I want to do a couple of those.
I've got a video on my It's Not Knit channel, how to make them.
I just think that I would be working on it for years.
It's the pineapple stitch, so it goes by pretty quick.
I actually just edited a pineapple stitch long skirt.
Oh, okay.
Lily Robinson says, what is one vintage item that you want to make that you have not made yet?
It would be anything in traditional Irish crochet. I have books. I have been gifted books. I really want to learn Irish crochet. It is so hard that the hardest thing I made in Irish crochet was the Titanic bag. I really want to get into the more ornate stuff. That's what I really, really want to make, but it is so hard. And I need a lace board, and I've got one in my cart on Amazon. I just need to bite the bullet and get it and just start learning.
You know, when there's something that you really, really want to learn, you know, when you finally take the time, it can be so much fun. Like Tunisian, I haven't made anything for 2 years in Tunisian, but I just love doing it when I do it. And I love
Tunisian.
I love that so much that I would love knitting, and that's why I finally sat down to learn how to start knitting.
Oh, wonderful.
AMCN says the red beaded purse was ornately beautiful. Loved all those seed beads. I saw part of that and I'm going, wow.
Yes, the fleur-de-lis bag. Wasn't that wonderful? I picked a hell of a pattern for my first time ever doing beadwork with crochet. Well, I saw it. I want to do, but
I haven't been able to bring myself to do it.
When I saw that I had to have it, I had to make it. Even though I'd never done it before.
I have a friend who wants to teach me how to do metal work, especially since I started doing, you know, stitch markers, and I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know. It's one of these days maybe, but I just can't see. I'm afraid that I'd hurt my hands too much and like scratch them up, and you know, and then trying to crochet with, you know.
And that could definitely be a problem. Yeah.
Just Me Tracy Lee, new subscriber. Thank you so much. So excited to catch y'all as live. I love watching Just Vintage Crochet. I have a lot of vintage crochet books, pamphlets, not just brave enough to tackle them yet. I cannot wait to get more of them off of that page I was telling you about that I found. And of course, I've got your shop saved now. The first thing I'm going to get is that conversion chart.
It's a wonderful packet. Yeah, you're going to find your stitch
You can send me the link to that, since I know you have it saved. I will put it down in the description when we are
okay
done.
Yeah, that's great. Do I just send it to the email I've been corresponding with you with?
That's actually Kaylin.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, you can send it to her, and she'll
okay, duh. Yeah.
Yeah. Or yeah, we can talk after.
Okay.
For a minute. I just dropped my hook, so I got to catch.
Yeah, and see, this is going to tell you what kind of yarn that you need, what kind of threads were popular then. It gets into the Berlin, single Berlin, fleecy, Zephyr, Andalusian, all those terms that we really don't use too much today. You're going to find in all of those. It's going to get into stitch terms and what things were called.
Yes.
For example, I'm sorry?
I said, yeah.
Oh, for example, cover ped, a comforter. A comforter is not a blanket, by the way. Back in the day, it was a scarf.
Really?
Yes, that's what they called a comforter. It could go either way. Some people called it a scarf. Some people called it a, like with baseball hat, right? Some people call it a hat. Some people call it a cap. Uh-huh. So it's just kind of an interchangeable term. But this breaks down.
I think I heard that like on watching one of like Sense and Sensibility or something like that. I think I heard them say something about getting a comforter, and I was like looking, going, huh?
Yeah, because when we think of a comforter as a big blanket, but in the Victorian era, it was a scarf, and traditionally men called it comforters, traditionally.
And that's it was one of the lords or somebody.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Then
it might have been one of those. I love to watch period pieces like that. So
I love that kind of stuff too. My brother turned me on to the Gilded Age. I really like that. We get into the bell gauge and the significance of the bell gauge with how it correlates with Tunisian crochet. And then, of course, you get a handful of free vintage or Victorian era patterns to practice with so that you really learn these stitch terms.
I saw that.
And each one of those patterns I specifically picked because it goes over the terms that you're going to find in the packet. It goes over the strangely named, to us, strangely named yarns and threads that you're going to find there. It goes into the vague hook sizes, but the packet's going to help you figure out how to make all of those patterns.
Come on. Come on. Sorry. Come here.
You hear your long distance girlfriend?
Cat's
That little cat is living his absolute best freaking life right now.
Sandra says, hi, Garfield. He is so cute.
Is
Andy
that the
says,
cat's
I grew
name?
yarn in your windows.
No, I love that.
Just me, Tracy Lee says, such good information. AMCN says, the cat paws, adorable. And, well, then you were conversing with him. So Sandra says, oh, he wanted his mama. So does mine, but there we go.
Oh, wonderful.
Lyra says, I just bought that packet. It is going to be my next project after I finish the peacock trellis. I am on row 74 now. Also, number 10 is tiny.
74. God bless you. You are almost done, sister. I bet it looks beautiful.
Come on, you can have Mama's lap. I'll stop. This is Kahlua.
I love the name Kahlua, too. Hello, Kalua's tail.
When I first started my channel, she used to be my co-host all the time.
Oh, isn't that sweet?
Let me see. You can see.
Meows in the background.
Yeah, but I mean,
Was Garfield talking to you, huh? He hears her crying and he'll meow back to her.
Oh, a talking cat. I got my Merlin, but if I invite him up on my lap, he won't leave.
Just me, Tracy Lee. You don't have to put the parentheses around it. If you just put in the words I am beautiful like that together, it'll drop your channel. Sandra says, pretty girl. Yeah, pretty girl. So we love our kitties. My husband and I take care of a colony of feral cats outside. So
Well, that's good. There's a
colony little right now.
There's a channel on YouTube I used to watch. They have a live stream of cats and kittens that are always up for adoption. And I think they're called Tiny Paws or something like that.
I've seen one of theirs. We started watching, what's the one that we watch, Bob?
It's
It's in Minnesota, and it's a sanctuary for feral cats.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of the name right now. We watch it all the time. They have over 350 cats.
Oh my
They
goodness.
built the building just for the sanctuary and all the cats.
Oh, geez.
It is. It's Fantastic Farms.
no something fun. What is it?
I'll find it. We watch them all the time. But you
What
guys,
is it,
my
little
foggy brain.
You know a little bit.
He's asking his cat. Her name's Little Bit. She's another black and white.
She's not with you.
She's asleep. They're waiting. It's tea time. I can't say the whole word or they'll be all over me. Well, I'll find it as, let me see. People are dropping their channels. Just Me Tracy says, I work my amigurumi up using number 10 floss. LOL. Thank
Oh
you.
my goodness.
I've wanted to try some tiny ones. A friend of ours, we did a video when it was the three of us, when Ambi was still with us, with a friend of ours who does, well, with two, a friend of Kaylin's and a friend of both of ours that does the little micro crochet.
I've seen some of that before. That is beyond me.
And she makes them, she used to make them for somebody and they put them in doll houses.
Oh, wow.
Lyra says, when I am done, I'm going to block it and attach it to a quilt. Quilting is where I started with crafting. My mother
wonderful.
We have a quilt from her, and so does our daughter.
Quilts are amazing.
Yes, they are.
The Amish make a living off of quilts.
Yeah, we live by an Amish community.
Like the Amish and the Mennonites. I'm not sure. Do the Mennonites do it too?
Yeah. The
Quilting?
difference is that the difference between, and I know this because I was in a pain clinic with somebody who was Mennonite.
Okay.
The main difference is that the Amish do not like have cars or anything modern, but the Mennonites will have cars and
Whatever is of absolute necessity, but not of excess, right?
right. And they will go see a doctor, where lots of times the Amish will not do that.
Right. They are a nation of their own.
Yes, they are. Oh, I can't believe I can't. Oh, well. I will let you guys talk for a minute. I am going to find this so you guys can watch it. It is awesome. So, and I can't believe I can't remember it.
What made you start vintage?
So several years ago, within the last 5 years, but several years ago, my son, Justin, dared me to crochet a Halloween costume. And so I wanted to do something older.
Mhm.
I was on Etsy and I'm like, okay, let me look for something from like the 9 to 5 era. You know, the movie 9 to 5.
Yeah.
It's like my favorite movie. And I thought to myself, I want to look like one of the office girls from 9 to 5. So let me try to find like a woman's suit, skirt, jacket thing. And I did. I found an Australian pattern for the jacket or the skirt, one of the two. Either way, on Etsy, I wound up finding the whole pattern. And the skirt turned out really good. The jacket turned out really crap. But I was really proud of myself that I could even read vintage patterns. And I really didn't think too much about it again until I started my It's Not Knit channel. And I made a bra from the 1940s. It was actually an Australian pattern from the 1940s using this 90-plus-year-old thread. And that turned out to be a success fail. Like, it's a success if the woman is really endowed, but it was a fail because that's not the way the bra was meant. I used too big of a hook. And then one of my viewers named Rosemary sent me some of her and her mother's old vintage books from the 40s and the 50s. And so I made a pair of butterfly gloves on It's Not Knit.
Ooh, that sounds pretty.
Oh, it is. That video is actually, I transferred it over to the Just Vintage channel. So it exists on Just Vintage now. And I realized I have a knack for reading these old patterns. Like, I can do this. So then I just started looking up patterns out of Ladies Godey's books and Peterson's books from the Civil War era and even older than that. And I'm like, I don't know why, but this makes nothing but sense to me. I know I can understand this. I'm figuring it out. Oh my God. And so there it goes. I don't have a lot of things I'm very good at, but reading old, vague, vintage patterns, I got it figured out for some reason.
The name of the channel, if you guys want to go watch the cats, is Furball Farms Cat Sanctuary.
Furball Farms Cat Sanctuary.
Yeah. I love that name. They are great, and they do live videos twice a day on YouTube and twice a day on
And they have a live feed 24/7.
on Facebook, and then they also have a live feed on Twitch.
Oh, wow.
That's how they raise their money to help take care of the cats. That
A
and
bunch
then-
of viewers have told me I should be on Twitch. I don't know how that would work. How would...
I don't know. That's it. I only have Twitch to watch them, and I don't. Unless you want somebody watching you 24 hours a day, I don't.
Yeah, I don't know how that would work. Like, okay, guys, thanks for watching. Okay, we're gonna do some double. I'm not trying to make fun of anybody who suggested it. I just don't know how to make that work on Twitch. And Twitch is kind of exciting, you know. I watch Twitch for gaming because I'm into gaming, and I watch some of my favorite Twitch gamers on there. You're muted, Kay. I think you're muted.
I think she did because Aiden was probably talking.
No, I'm not muted anymore.
Okay. Hi, Aiden. We see your hand, hon. I think I missed some things. Fantastic Fibers here. Welcome in. I think, oh, they turned out so incredibly stunning. My most favorite worked out of the floss was a peacock. Sounds gorgeous. I love to do amigurumi.
I know so.
Sanja says, my stepson is marrying a lady from the Mennonites. She works to Galilean home for special needs adults.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
Just Me Tracy Lee says those challenges from others are the best. AMCN says the vintage crochet Venetian bag is one of my whips to return to. The pineapple poncho is another challenge I plan to undertake.
I love that pineapple poncho. I still have it.
Ambi says I would be interested to learn about Native American fiber art history.
I would too.
My
I know
uncle
that
would
they
love
did
it
a lot
if I
of.
did that.
I think they did a lot of loom work whenever they started to get their hands on loom. But I think what they did, I remember seeing something on PBS a long time ago, is they would put pegs into the ground, basically like a loom, and just wrap. And they would make material not only out of animal fur, but also just breaking down some wheat stalks, soaking them, and they would just wrap it around this peg, wrap it around that peg, and then they had pegs going up and down like this. And they basically were looming, but they were using the ground and pegs to loom with it.
Well, they learned to use everything. I mean, that's
Yes.
just like when they killed a wild animal, they used every part of it.
Every
They
part of it.
didn't, eat the meat. So make sure to tell Aiden that a couple people waved back at him from the audience.
I did. I told
Okay.
that ambient.
Okay, I think we are winding down. Like I told you, we're at almost 2 hours, and sometimes we just get to talking, and
Yeah, I didn't even realize how much time
It
had gone.
goes
I am
by.
starting to feel kind of hungry now.
yeah, it goes by really, really quick. So thank you guys for joining us. Maybe sometime we can have Corrina back.
Oh, I'd love to come back.
I wanted to talk to you sometime. I want to start up the lives on this channel when I do my own that aren't just Kaylin and I. And I like to do those with somebody from another channel, and I just sit and ask them questions, just kind of like an interview, but nothing that I have questions written down. It's just whatever we authentically talk about. So
I would love to do that.
okay, we will have to set up a time then.
Please.
I have been wanting to get back to doing it. I miss it so much. I feel closer to everybody when I get to see them like this and talk to them. So next month we are taking off. Wow, you showed yourself. Hi, Aiden. He'll do it with those of us when we're not on live, but this is his first time coming on live with us.
Well, hi.
Kathy says, thanks for a fun and very interesting night. Have a good night, everyone. Fantastic Fiber says, I would love to do that with you. Thank you. Send me an email. Let me put this up for you real quick.
Jen, just as soon as I'm done making the Vault Tech jacket, I'm going to feature it in a video. I don't care if it's a mystery pattern video. The very next video I make, you're going to see it in there. And I'll put it on my community post as well as a photo.
My Gmail is there. If you want to go ahead and send me an email, we can set something up. That would be great. Jen Brains is looking forward to seeing your Vault Tech jacket when you've finished.
Mm-hmm.
Sanji says this was so informative and enjoyable. Thank you all. Just Me Tracy Lee says, I've never went live. I do good to just upload my videos. LOL, bad internet. You know what? If you ever want to come on live with me, that would be great. I love to meet everybody. Like I tell everybody on my channel, I love everybody. I consider everybody my family. So Jen Braden says, I'm thinking of making a Vault Tech hoodie. Just got to get the yarn.
Well, and the jacket I'm using is a video I put out recently, my 1980s hoodie jacket. That's the pattern I'm actually using to make mine. So if you want to make a Vault Tech hoodie, you can just follow that tutorial right there. Just use your Vault-Tec colors.
Were you saying something, Kaylin?
Yeah, I don't. Oh, it was the bad internet or whatever. I was going to say. I mean, I went from using my computer to being on my phone because
Yeah, that's why she disappeared a little bit ago.
we worked through the problems.
Yeah, you know, she actually is the one who reached out to Corrina when when she mentioned her. So we should have been doing this on her channel tonight, but since it's been so glitchy, we went ahead and did it on mine. Trace, it's awesome. AJ, thank you bunches. You're welcome. I always tell all of, like I will say now, I don't usually do it on our lives, but you all matter.
Yes.
Everybody matters. And I think everybody is gorgeous and beautiful. And I just love to get to know everybody. So, and I'm always here for anybody. You can email me if you just need somebody to talk to. I started my channel because my husband was working 2 full-time jobs. I was home alone all the time, and I have my illnesses and I was just lonely. So that's why I started my channel.
Now you have a whole bunch of friends.
I feel
Now I have a bunch of friends. Yes.
I feel that, and I hear that loud and clear.
So, just a small town girl says, nice meeting you, AJ and Kay. Looking forward to your next video, Corrina.
Nice to meet you too. Just a small town girl. I almost every time I hear that.
Head too.
In her lonely world.
Next month should have been on Kaylin's channel, but we are taking a break. We don't know. We may need to take 2 months. We will let you guys know as soon as we know.
My brother has decided to stop treatment on cirrhosis of the liver. So he is now home on hospice. That's why we're taking the next.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I talked her into taking a break so she could spend as much time.
Well, yeah.
So, but I will try to get my lives going in between there. So, and you will see us again because we got to finish this series.
Oh, yeah.
The next one is probably going to be, and the reason I was asking is yarn. So, anyway, we will see you guys later. Have a great night, and we'll see you in a couple months on for AJ and Kay's Yarny Tales. We love you guys.
Thank you so much for having me.
If you hold on, I'll talk to you for a second. See you
Bye.
guys later.
No, I want to eat.